Good afternoon, Southeast Asia, and we welcome you back to the Garena Premier League Summer 2017. We are on our final day of the knockout stages where we will determine who will make it to the play-in stage for Worlds, Ascension, or will it be Young Generation? We are Shoutcasters. I am Vulcan, and with me is Arctic.
Yeah,
So, wow. Sorry about the technical difficulty, guys, but now let us resume to determine who will advance to China Worlds 2017.
Yeah, definitely something to look forward to right there. I'm really itching to see if Vietnam, given the 2 slots in the GPL, will actually spearhead, just kind of sweep away the rest of Southeast Asia into transitioning into Worlds, or from what we're seeing, Ascension Gaming, regardless of losing Norway, definitely showing a lot of fight in them to potentially get that second seed as well. So I'd say it's anyone's game, but with that game 1 going to Ascension Gaming, definitely great boost of motivation as we head into the pick and ban.
So let's go straight to the pick and ban phase of Young Generation and Ascension, where we did see that in first game. I thought the Young Generation can bounce back from the deficit they had, but nonetheless, they did have some Baron Steel moments, but it all comes down to whoever had the lead at the very beginning. So let's see that Young Generation will be prioritizing the Jarvan, one of the most high-picked champions in the GPL season.
Very interesting. A lot of contention with this as well, and a lot of teams that have been running this have seen great success. If I'm not mistaken, not only does it have a high pick rate, but a high win rate as well. So it looks like Young Generation will be utilizing that Jarvan for themselves, taking it away from Ascension, with them in response taking this Maokai here. Another great pick. Probably a little bit shakier in comparison to what Jarvan the board, but still very much, I'd say overall with the current patch, definitely a good choice as well.
It's like that if you can't get the Jarvan the fourth, you might as well pick up something that can evenly match it. Let's say the Narisan game 1, where we did still see that J4 triumph in over damage, CC in lockdown, but for this game 2, let's see what will Young Generation do. They do have the first pick priority. They are going to be getting the Rakan and Xayah duo, Rakan, one of the most powerful supports right now in the GPL.
Yeah, no surprise right there. Looks like it is going to be a couple goals right here for this bot lane, Big Koro and Pallet. So nonetheless, Ascension going to be going for this Varus. Oh, now that I noticed, actually, they did choose the Varus already, so they will be responding with the Sire rather. And looks like in exchange, we'll be taking the Braum. We have seen a lot of heavy emphasis in bans towards missing out on what could complement an AD carry in the second ban rotation. So it looks like they will be securing the Braum instead for that safety here, leaving it to the second rotation as to what they'll choose for mid, or depending on where they send this Maokai, whether jungle or top, we'll just have to see.
I'm pretty sure this is going to be more of a flex pick where we are still deciding, because J4, we do see it in top a lot, but they still have the option where they can pick it to go to the jungle.
Indeed.
But let's get straight to the second phase. They are going to be removing the Cassiopeia, one of the Naol's really favorable picks in the mid lane in GPL. So it's understandable that Ascension, they do not want to deal with it.
No, not at all. Especially since we have seen that Odette, this was a champion that he just skyrocketed, sealing that win against Team Middle Eagles just yesterday. So they definitely don't want to contend with that once again. Also, Cassiopeia would actually complement this composition in a way. So, but nonetheless, in response, Young Generation will be taking away the Kled from Jisoo. So they are anticipating that this Maokai will be potentially a jungle for Numi. But we'll just have to see. Not to mention the fact that a Maokai and Kled actually a great combo that makes, because you get a spearhead in. Not to mention Maokai would get a better reach towards who should be rooting onto. But we'll just have to see. Syndra as well going to be taken away from Naol. So some pretty heavy focus here onto Naol, so no surprise. And the Talia going to be taken away from G4. So we have the second rotation of bans sealed up, so we'll just have to see what Ascension Gaming will be taking with both the Kled and Talia off the board for them.
I love how both teams are actually prioritizing the mid, saying that Ascension will be picking up the Vladimir, one of the most powerful late game AP mages, but when it comes to sustain, Ascension will be going towards the late game, whereas we're going to be expecting that Naol will be on that Kassadin.
Wow, very interesting. And it is interesting to take note that this Vladimir, it was the champion that Optimus was on just yesterday, which actually sealed the deal for Gigabyte Marines to take the 3-0 against Ascension Gaming. So it looks like we'll be seeing if G4 can kind of flex his muscles, show a little bit of the same prowess that Optimus exhibited yesterday during their game.
I wonder if this will be the same Vladimir we saw yesterday, where it was more on focus on pushing. Whereas we normally see Vladimirs, they do pick up the Proto Belt and Visage, but for Optimus, he went for Lunan's Echo, further kind of delaying his damage output. But nonetheless, Gigabyte Marines, they still managed to win against Ascension, which is something admirable because I was expecting that Ascension would have won that game, but Gab just took it away. But on this matchup between Young Generation, we are going to be seeing Jungle Elise for Venus. So let's see what Warlock will secure for his team. We are still lacking this is interesting.
Lucian mid.
Lucian top and Jungle Maokai. Or was it a top Vladimir?
Oh yeah, wait a minute.
What is going on here? Interesting. This is going to be a top Vladimir and a mid Lucian.
Okay, this makes a little bit more sense here because I felt like it would have been awkward as hell if they actually sent one of the range champions towards top. But looks like it is indeed going to be a top Vladimir. So I was baited there for a bit. But nonetheless, everything does make much more sense now that all the swaps have been made. But overall, though, Young Generation, I'm loving the composition. There is a little bit more, Ascension Gaming going a little bit more different here. So
it's like I had a sort of brain fart right now. Like I was confused where it was going to go top or mid, but I guess for a Vladimir pick in the top lane is understandable, knowing that you can deny a lot of damage coming from the Jarvan. Time your pull correctly, stay underground when the Jarvan goes in on the collapse. But let us see how Ascension will fare in the second game of the finals of the GPL. I wonder though, who's going to make it through?
I'm personally potentially banking on Ascension Gaming just because that they do seem the better team going into this. They have 3-2'd Young Generation. They're going into this all the more stronger, having just came up fresh from the Gigabyte Marine. Sure, it may have been a 3-0 stomp, but from the mindset standpoint, definitely a good motivator in a sense that we already lost to the first seed. Hell no, we're going to be losing to the second seed. But Young Generation still, they have shown off a great run in the GPL, so it's anyone's game in my opinion.
So I wonder though, I mean, we did see that the game between Ascension and Young Generation, it was more on, not right now, the previous games where we did see they had a good chance. It was 3-2. It was a very close game. But from seeing how game 1 was played, I'm pretty curious how Young Generation is behaving this time, because I think it went through their heads that Ascension really took away their chances of going to the group stage and facing off against the Marines. But now, I'm going to say, draft-wise, I'm pretty confident for Young YG.
Yeah, definitely. A little bit more of interesting, because as far as the hold that they have in terms of crowd control, they have it through Nuni. But looks like we'll just have to see, though. Early action happening.
Ooh.
Big Garo getting the stun on.
But this is really interesting. I think that Ascension really took Young Generation by surprise, and also to us, saying that I really was not expecting to see a top Lucian, and I think Naul didn't see that coming too. So he's like, oh boy, this is going to be Naul at a disadvantage against a Lucian.
Yeah, definitely.
A huge disadvantage.
And, oh, actually, a knock up there coming in from Pallet, but clearly it's still very much early on. They can't really go all in terms of the damage outputs here. So it looks like G4 will be going to lane, but with a little bit of that health done. But still, regardless, like you did mention, this is Lucian versus Kassadin. And Kassadin, as is, already struggles until such time he reaches level 6. But all the more that's going to be trickier with a Lucian in that mid lane here. And overall, I'm actually interested in seeing how the dynamic between a Jarvan the 4th versus Vladimir will work towards the top side. Actually, personally haven't seen Vladimir in quite a while being sent up that top lane. If anything, mostly more in the mid lane.
This is where, when you cleverly draft early on, this is the result. You take the enemy by surprise. You are catching them off guard in a way that Naul did not see the Lucian coming. Same as for Ren, he did not see that Jisoo will be going as a top Vladimir. So this is Young Generation's plan down the drain. They are trying to adjust and see how it's working so well for Ascension. The fact that they really did well in their drafting.
Indeed. And
See,
overall, though,
even Naul can even use his spell shield effectively because that's a physical damage.
what I'm actually interested in seeing here for Ascension Gaming is if you're going to look at their crowd control, they don't really have that many options except for Maokai and the Braum in the form of hard CC. Oh, as well as the Varus ultimate. A little bit of soft CC from Jisoo as well in the form of the slow. But overall, for young generation, a lot of hard CC for sure. Cocoon. You have a great zoning tool with the Cataclysm coming in from Job in the fourth. And not only just zoning, but a good lockdown in a way as well.
And I just love how Venus really invested his time, knowing that Ren is having a hard time against that Vladimir. But now we are gonna be seeing that Nooney is spotted in the blue side.
Yeah, definitely. Along
He
with
does
Venus,
see Venus, and
caught
Venus
on the wrong
propels
side
in.
of the map. Yeah. And interesting enough, this is what we've been expecting your G4. But regardless, even though G4 has that advantage in terms of the poke war, in terms of the CS, 22 to 18, still not all doing a great job, I'd say, keeping up with G4 here.
But when it comes to the level 6 spike, G4 may have a disadvantage because when he is using his ultimate, simply Naul can go in, Riftlock in, silence him, and just end the ultimate right there. And this is something that Naul is waiting for. That level 6 spike could really help him change the flow of the lane. But as for Ren, he is going to be having a difficult time all throughout his laning phase because let's say you reach level 6. Doesn't matter because Jisoo will have his pull.
Indeed. Interesting though, Venus actually helping Naul push out this lane here to just kind of relieve a little bit of that pressure in a way. But also this will grant Naul the opportunity to recall for the meantime. On his first back, we'll be getting that Ruby Crystal for a little bit more staying power in this lane to take some of that trade damage and poke coming in from G4.
And so far the laning phase goes looking pretty solid. No distinguishable advantage yet for anyone.
Now I notice even cloth armor being taken as well by now. So a lot of heavy defenses to deal with G4 in this laning phase.
And this is going to make Noah's itemization path very awkward.
And he actually opts to walk back to lane, not to mention. So, but even so, like even though Naul walked back to lane, the CS is still very much even for G4 and himself. So,
this is going to be a game where both teams are not going to risk anything. 5 minutes into the game, no first blood just yet. But we are going to be nearing our level 6 spike. Nooney is still level 4, same as Venus. They are going to be responding to each other. However, Naul will be backing off under his turret. Still Nooney. Return the favor, maybe going for a more aggressive push. This is more on lane pressure, but we do see Venus.
oh, they have
Spotted
to be
there,
careful
Cocoon is
though.
available.
Cocoon.
G4 gets silenced, but Nooney picks up the stun.
Yeah, that was interesting right there. Nooney trying to help relieve pressure for G4 by getting that push on before he goes for the recall. But Venus in exchange actually joins in on the fight, and as a result, the wave doesn't really push in far onto the turret of Naul. So, but nonetheless, it is still somewhat of Ascension Gaming's wave pushing in towards the mid lane. So that's interesting.
And so far, I just love how Ascension drafted this game because just by looking how YG's behaving, they are trying their best to not really fall behind in their composition so far, but we are seeing aggression starting, seeing how Ren is level 6, same with Jisoo, all throughout the map except for the bot lane. Level 6 will happen for Nooney soon. If it does, he may opt for a bot lane gank, but seeing how Pallet is on the Rakan may be difficult.
Indeed. Pallet going to be taking some of that damage, gets the stun onto Pallet though, but still nonetheless that is just a small off trade here. G4 actually going for the Vampiric Scepter in response because Naul won't really be taking as much of heavy damage coming in from G4, but in exchange, G4 definitely left with a little bit more vulnerability to Naul's own spell, so Vampiric Scepter definitely a good way to go here. Not to mention eventually leading towards the first build to that first item.
And that first item can really change how you're going to be playing throughout the whole game because let's say you pick up a really bad first item, let's say a ZZ Rot, and that's gonna really destroy your whole game. And as far as we can tell, Rin's itemization will be still going for the Tiamat. He is going to be playing that pushing game where he will pressure Jisoo. So first items will be important. Naol on the cloth armor is really helping him out. Now he does pick up the cloth armor, but he will be further delaying his Rod of the Ages build for that Kassadin.
Yes, indeed. And of all items, ZZ Rot. But then again, I think you're speaking just But yeah, anyways, going back to what's happening here.
Well, yeah, I hate to see a first item to be very useless in a game where it's not needed now, but this is the GPL. We are seeing some aggression here. I mean, this is the pro play where Warlock still has his, not even going back yet, so the bot lane, wise, it's at a stalemate where we are seeing that both ADCs, they are just farming off each other.
Although, let's go ahead and check out top. Oh, wait. Interesting. So, but yeah, for the top side, Ren actually building up on an early Executioner's Calling to deal with some of that heal coming in from Jisoo here.
See?
That sustain.
That is adaptability right there.
Oh.
But for first blood, we'll be going for G4. Let us see what happened there. But seeing how G4 was moving around, he was a bit low on health. He did use his Ignite. Maybe he wanted to go all in. And surprise to him, Venus also used his Flash. So we can tell a story from there where it was G4 being a bit too aggressive. Wanted to get that kill.
Indeed.
But let us actually see how it all turned out because better to see it in action.
Yeah, best that we see how that actually transpired. So actually G4 and O going at it, but Venus going for a flank towards the back. Great cocoon point flank, and that just pretty much sealed the deal again.
And this is going to be a good start off for Naol. He will be trying to rush. Actually goes for the Arm Seeker's Guard, a very gold efficient item on the top side. Nooney is still getting the hurt onto Ren, whereas he is going to be locking him down with a Cataclysm. Venus is going in for the assistance. Nooney, though, flashes away from the terrain, so that will be an ultimate down. But Jisoo, with the Crimson Blood, will secure his kill onto Ren. Now may opt for go Venus. Very low on health. Ooh. This will be a double buff. If Jisoo gets it, it'll be very rewarding. He does get the double kill, and the sudden sustain, but the spiraling is there for him to not have that double buff.
That last minute spiraling right there, very well.
Did not see that coming.
Yeah, I was actually surprised myself, but nonetheless, that is going to be a 2-for-1, regardless, in favor of Ascension Gaming towards that top side, and that's definitely going to make Jisoo hurt a little bit more than Ren might be able to deal with here. Sure, does cut down on the sustain through the Executioner's Calling, but that doesn't necessarily stop the overall damage and pressure that Jisoo could exert here. Now that he is already completing the... Oh, wait a minute. What's going on here?
The what? Well, as far as defensive build-wise, we're seeing a gang into the mid lane again. G4 taking a lot of punishment. Young Generation really playing their games aggressively, going for that tower dive and really shutting him down with a 0-2-0 KDA. He has yet to finish the recurve bow. He will be delayed in his item. And the fact that Nooney was really not anywhere near him, a bit too late for the party.
Yeah, and looking at the options here right now, G4 not really going to have a good time here. Not a good start either. Currently 0-2. Venus as well.
3 members again collapsing onto the mid lane of Ascension. Make it 4. Here comes the assistance. And now Nooney will be paying the price for the stay long, but looks like Nooney will be taken down. The arrow will not reach him, but the calling will be enough for G4 to at least catch up until now.
A little bit of vengeance right there. And that's the tricky part right here. Sure, they were able to get the takedown on Nooney, but because he is a little bit on the tankier side, did take a while. Wasn't exactly the best juggle. I'm assuming that they probably transitioned the damage taking onto Naol because of their idea of potentially getting a Rift Walk out of there. But again, good timing there by Warlock, getting the stun into a kill for G4. So this does help him a little bit. I'll kind of get back onto even ground there because he was in that 0-2 slump earlier.
12 minutes into the game with a kill score of 4-3. 1k goalie for the favor of Young Generation. We are saying that the ADCs on for YG. Big Kuro already finishing up his Essence Reaver. where we do see that Lloyd will be opting for maybe the Infinity Edge, seeing that he did pick up the BF sword pickaxe, so he will be delaying his first item. But nonetheless, it is going to be a worth item because of the investment he will be putting it onto.
Indeed. So, now although still not really building up on the heavier damage, still giving much respect to G4, not allowing him to really trade as much damage. See, not even a basic attack hurts right now, but Nooney
getting a little punishment. The Cocoon will connect onto Nooney onto the turret pallet with the quickness for the tower dive. Kill secured for Young Generation.
Yeah, a lot of confidence coming in from the spot here, but looks like in exchange, Jisoo may be able to get this first turret to help relieve that. And Lloyd actually transitioning towards mid lane to help relieve some of that pressure to avoid any further pushes that they may happen.
You can see the tension right now for Ascension. They won the first game, but Young Generation, they're not going to let that falter. So look at the kill score. They are catching up, really getting back to their roots as the second seed of Vietnam. Wait, they were so close in beating Ascension, the representative of Thailand. But on the top side, we are seeing that Ren, a beautiful bait, but no follow-up. He does not have mana. And we do see that a Glacier Fissure will be used for the lockup onto Ren, very low on health, with Lloyd taking the kill.
That was beautiful. Again, good swap up coming in from Warlock and Lloyd transitioning to the top side, leaving G4 to actually deal with the bot side. But looks like for the meantime, they will be allowing this takedown. And yeah, that is going to be first turret. Unfortunately, Jisoo wasn't able to take down that turret towards top side in time.
This is huge. A first turret all onto Big Koro. That is going to be 650 gold. That's going to help him a lot. And this is going to really further the gap of Young Generation and Ascension. We are seeing small, little by little, baby steps for them. The Cloud Dragon's life, not that of a priority, but seeing how for Ascension, they did take down the top lane outer turret. May opt for the Rift Herald. Let's see.
I'm really looking forward to how the dynamic is going to work out here because looking at these two turret pushes, this does give much more control for Ascension over the Rift Herald, but in exchange, Young Generation does have much more control over this dragon, although it is just a Cloud Drake as this first dragon, so not really much urgency as far as needing to take it. If anything, they may just want to look out for Ascension making a play toward taking this Rift Herald.
So far, we are seeing that G4 finished up that Blade of the Ruined King, Lloyd for the Infinity Edge. So when the fight does happen, we are going to be expecting that all these champions, they do have their first item. In terms of damage-wise, I'm going to be backing in more onto Young Generation, seeing how Ren is his burst type. But the fact that they have a Vladimir for Ascension, this is big news. Teleport coming in, a call-off for Pallet. He tries to get away. 4 members are going to be responding onto him. He is forced to use the quickness, change the corruption. Will not connect onto Pallet, so an ultimate for an ultimate.
Yeah, this is quite the commitment that Ascension Gaming is doing towards chasing Pallet out here. But whether or not he'll be able to reunite with his teammates, though, that might indeed be the case, as the rest of Young Generation was actually pushing towards that turret.
So the mid lane outer turret is taken down. Ascension feels a bit bad about that, seeing how they are trying to contest this time. Return the favor flash over that wall. Jisoo trying to looking for Venus's head. He does survive. The Cocoon does connect onto Nooney. Look at that 4-man knockup with a Glacial Fissure. Young Generation will be winning this fight.
Yeah, but looks like Ascension gonna try to push out this turret though regardless.
They lay very low, 30% health. This will be Lloyd diminishing it little by little. If the turret does go down, Young Generation should back off.
I think the tricky part right here though is regardless that Young Generation getting some good kills onto Ascension Gaming. As far as the kill distribution, it is rather unfortunate that most of these substantial kills that the rest of YG would have benefited from ultimately have gone to Pallet 3-0 and 1. So, but regardless, this is going to be good for them as they transition to Rift Herald.
They do have vision there, Young Generation. That control ward is not spawning that little ward. This is trouble. Jisoo is there. He does get the previous one. His sustain is really down. He won't be surviving long. Venus picks up the kill. Rift Herald might go for the reset, but they don't care. G4 will be shutting down Pallet. And now flash in from Warlock for the Frostbite. Ren trying to get away with the Drag Flag combo. He does not die just yet. but G4 does cut off Big Koro, and Lloyd with the piercing arrow will finally finish up Ren.
Yes, that was quite the ambitious Rift Herald right there. And especially since sure Jisoo might have suffered as a casualty, but it was just enough to get everybody on the run. Every man for himself in that case. And looks like Ascension Gaming going to be doing a good job here at transitioning that to an inner top turret that kind of balances things with their own inner turret towards bot down.
So with that said, with the kill score for turret score for 3-3, all tiebreakers around except the fact that the gold lead really a slight advantage for Young Generation. Just 1,000, that's nothing. But let's all see what happened in the replay at the pit.
Indeed, a lot of commitment here onto Jisoo here. Goes for the Sanguine Pool just when he was able to get a lot more damage onto more targets that converged onto him. And if you're going to look at this right here, it was at a point where in Young Generation, already quite low across the board in terms of health here, that it was just every man for himself, while Ascension just kind of choosing who they wanted to target here. And it was just pretty much a great opportunity for the Thai squad to get everything back on equal ground.
And again, for YG, they are going to be trying again for this Rift Herald. This time, no vision for Ascension, so this will be blind. And this will be easy, uncontested. The Rift Herald will be going towards Young Generation.
And that's the unfortunate part right here, but looks like we'll just have to check out what's happening towards bot side.
Jisoo gonna go for the duel. Lloyd is there. There's gonna be big trouble, but I gotta say, this is going to be Naol really underestimating the response time of Ascension.
Yeah, but looks like even with the Rift Herald towards top, we'll just have to see. This will force Ascension Gaming to make a recall though to defend their inner top turret here. G4 will be left for the meantime to split push towards this bot side. Rift Herald definitely a good threat here. They don't want to try to lose out on as many turrets.
But they are going to be losing that inner turret, seeing how the Rift Herald is still healthy, a bit healthy right there. So, trading off. Now, 2 turrets, but hold on top, Mikaro. Big trouble, Glacial Fissure for the slow. Big Koro with a slow in. He does survive and stacking up the spellers really well. He does take a kill onto Nooney. And now Jisoo is left alone with no members of Ascension to defend him. But G4 responds there with the calling. Nooney will back off with Pallet. Trying to defend things off, but the stun from the Cocoon will cut him off.
Man, that was so awkward for Ascension Gaming right there. If anything, fighting in those close quarters and considering their positioning where they were quite linear to Big Koro, it's almost like asking for all that damage coming in from Big Koro right there on the Saya. So that was pretty weird indeed. But let's go ahead and check out what transpired here into the replay here. So Big Koro actually manages to get a great position. Sure, there is a dive in, but looking at the nature of the position of the Ascension Gaming, they're pretty much in a linear position, and not to mention the fact that it was pretty awkward because the rest of Young Generation was able to converge on them so quick that it resulted to that 2-man casualty.
2-man casualty, but that's going to be a blessing for YG. They are going to be catching up, but as we observe the game, we are seeing a pattern where it's an endless tug of war. The only point where we see any team winning right now is when one team actually slips off. They let go of the rope, and that's going to be that mistake. It will really determine how the game will play out. So I wonder who will be the first one to make a huge mistake. We did observe that in the Baron Pit, for the first time, Young Generation and Ascension fought at day one of the knockout stage. They really blew it. They blew their chances there. And now we are seeing both teams doing the same pattern.
Oh, no, teleport though coming up.
So teleport responding on the red side of Ascension. This is going to be Ascension's home ground. Young Generation trying to back off. Drag flag combo. Ren is trying to escape. Chaining corrosion onto 4 members. This will be big for Ascension, but Young Generation will be backing off. And here is Warlock for the call-up. He does have Glacial Fissure ready. Not yet using it just yet. Saving for the right time. Cataclysm is there for the terrain. He's a bit too late. Pallet is there for the quickness. And Warlock is left alone. He gets taken down rather quickly without using his ultimate. That's bad news. Pallet and Venus are there. But look at Jisoo with the Vladimir for the cleanup.
Yeah, that was crazy. It looks like Ascension Gaming actually may be ambitious enough to try to transition into this Baron. Will anybody able to contest though? Now, definitely within the vicinity. Is he going to be going in on to try to get members?
He may lock on to Nooney first, but Lloyd seems to be the easier target to burst off. Pallet is there. He does take down Lloyd. A 1-for-1 trade, trying to delay this Baron. This will be the Baron doing the work, and yes! It will be Naol. Decisiveness. Denying the Baron.
That was a little bit too overambitious by Ascension Gaming, although they were able to get the ace, but still those were unnecessary casualties that they suffered themselves, though. Cloud Drake still hasn't been taken. Pretty much been ignored throughout this entire game. Almost like, yeah, pretty sad for him. Pretty sad indeed. But still pretty much even. Again, like you mentioned, this is a tug of war. Let's go ahead and check out what happened here. So Nature's Grass actually getting the hit onto Ren here, but the beautiful thing is that people were just ignoring Jisoo. It was only when Jisoo started going in that they actually noticed that things were happening here. But nonetheless, it was just all this damage coming in from Ascension Gaming, getting that eventual cleanup in.
And it's really sad to see Warlock wanted to set the flash with his Glacial Fissure. The Baron will be going towards Young Generation. Lockdown with the Cataclysm onto Warlock. Nature's Grabs reaching in. One member will be caught off. It's going to be Venus. Lloyd picks up the kill there. I don't think that's over just yet. Jisoo trying to go for the chase. Ren's very low. Chugging down that potion. Trying to survive. He does get the slow off of the Aegis, but that won't be enough. Pallet will be rejoining his teammate with two members down.
The benefit of having that Rakan inside together, granting him that extra range to get that retreat. But still, Young Generation, even with those two casualties, pretty much worth having secured that Baron here. Now, taking quite a bit, but this may be Ascension Gaming pushing in, regardless of the Baron buff coming in from Young Generation.
This is more of deja vu for YG. They risked everything for Baron, but lost two members. They lose the inner turret. Now the inhibitor remains. The Baron buff minions will help them out, so this will be Ascension backing off after that turret.
Lead here, but still, with this Baron buff, this is the chance for Young Generation to get some level of retaliation here. Are they finally gonna opt for this Dragon rather? Dragon is like, notice me, senpai.
We have never seen the Cloud Drake taken away, but I guess if you want to start off with the Elder and you have a really good control of the bot lane, take down this Cloud Drake, but we will be expecting another Elemental Drake. It would be, I'd say, the Cloud Drake does go towards them, but I wonder if this is going to help them a lot. This will further help them push away, especially for Naol. He does love to split push, so this is going to be useful for them into the late game.
Indeed. 12 and 15 right now. Ascension gonna be fending off this push coming in from Young Generation here. Young Generation, though, still not really 100% of the configuration to go for splits. So, because if you're going to look at it, the two people that did lose out on their Baron because of dying was Ren and was Venus. So, the fact that you leave your Baron buff on to members such as the Kassadin, Saya, and Rakan doesn't really leave you towards getting that full push configuration that you would have if both the Jarvan and the Lees had that Baron buff respectively.
So far, the next Drake will be Cloud, another Drake that anyone can take, and anyone can just give away. So,
not connecting though. Now, still going for it.
So let's see. 5 members in the mid lane. They do have the Baron buff. Some of them do have it, but it will run out pretty quickly if they don't use it yet. So they're on a timer. They are trying to use this Baron buff to till the last drop. But will it work out? We're seeing the Ascension not willing to give this an inner turret just yet.
And if anything, let's see here. The Ascension, good defense actually. And this is the tricky part right here. Even with the Baron, Young Generation still struggling to secure turrets themselves. So we'll just have to see how this works out for them. And with that Baron buff down later on, they are pretty much on equal footing, and this may be the signal for Ascension to get their own work going on.
Get a corruption on two. What a bad call for Venus. G4 takes up the kill. Here comes the quickness and the cataclysm for the lockdown. This will be Ascension winning the team fight so far, but will it be it? Aloy, though, getting the kill. So from that chaos, the cataclysm in a way worked against Young Generation.
The damage output coming in from Ascension overall, regardless of not even having as much well, actually they do have 8 in the form of Jisoo, but still, definitely working out for them. I mean, Jisoo is kind of that he's kind of that pest that goes in onto Young Generation, and Young Generation has nothing else to do but to take notice to that pest. And by the time they do manage to take him down, there's still a lot more damage output coming in from both G4 and Lloyd here. So it's an interesting predicament that the second seed of Vietnam is in right now.
Ascension really putting the hurt onto YG. 6 thirds down for Ascension, whereas Young Generation are just going to be responding. This is the point where we were talking about where one small slip up. Who slipped up? It was Venus, getting the Chain of Corruption, starting everything in favor of Ascension. He got the Chain of Corruption and he spread it throughout his teammates. So this is going to be Young Generation paying a price for a very small mistake that is normally not a big of a consequence.
Indeed, and it's interesting because if you're going to look at it, you kind of want to have a way to deal with G4 and Lloyd's damage, but if you're going to look at the boots that Ren and Nao opted for, both going for the Mercury Tread, so there is definitely a lot of respect coming in from the damage that Jisoo can, but it's like Jisoo might just not out here.
He does have the Banshee's Veil, will be gaining away, the quickness is used, Warlock will be joining him, stand behind Warlock, and now, with no more quickness, 4 members of YG are retreating. The barrier will be live in 1 minute and 48 seconds. They should at least put some wards. Oh boy. JC though did not see that they were winning in the brush side, trying to get away, rejoins his teammate, Nature Draft is incoming, and a Chain of Corrosion again, connecting on to Nao. He does pop his Zonias, and furthermore, this is going to be his grave.
Yeah, it's a Jisoo, kind of he was being hunted at first, but at the end of the day, Nao was kind of the hunted in that case. Ren, though, trying to get some splish on towards top, but Jisoo just clearing that wave like a champ there. And that's the tricky part right there. When both Ren and Venus lost out on that Baron buff earlier, Ren wasn't able to get that level of splish on. So, regardless, Ascension gaining here towards the top side, transitioning towards the mid side, G4 getting that push on.
29 minutes into the game, almost 30 minutes. This is a pattern we are very familiar with. This really reflects the second day of the knockout stage, where we observed that, the first day of the knockout stage, where we observed that Young Generation and Ascension are just pulling each other's hair out. Whoever grows bald first will lose.
But if I'm not mistaken, if you're going to recall that best of 5 that happened during day 1, it was actually Young Generation that was pulling out the stops in the first 2 games before things kind of started reversing towards Ascension Gaming's favor. So this is kind of worrisome here because it seems to me that...
Oh, Jisoo completely denying the damage from the Cataclysm with his Banshee's Veil. This leaves Ren so useless right now because he cannot burst him down. The damage and the knockup will not even go through that Banshee's Veil, so Cataclysm will be down, where we do see Ren's potential really going down the drain. He is building towards the Gargoyle Stone Plate, whereas we're seeing Jisoo outscaling him a lot in the gate game.
Ooh, are they going to go for this Baron?
Okay.
Yes, indeed.
Interesting. Teleport coming in. Ran into the ring, but it's the fact. There is no Cataclysm. Young Generation cannot afford to lose this fight or even start it. Here comes the quickness by Palin. He does get away with a Talisman of Ascension. This is the problem I was talking about. You do not have any utilities anymore. Why Starify? Ren's very low. Now we see G4 zoning out now. Ooh, 2 members down. The Baron is being taken out by Ascension.
Man, and this is a fast take indeed. And with Venus down, there is no chance that Young Generation could even go for the steal. And I gotta hand it to Ascension Gaming. These first 2 games that we've been seeing thus far, their drafts make all the more sense over Young Generation. And
this is the surprise we've seen in the drafting phase, where Ren thought, this Maokai can go either top or jungle. Let me pick up this. They did pick up the jungle first, but where everything fell apart was when they picked the Vladimir. When they picked the Vladimir, now we'll pick the Kassadin. And what did Ascension do? They baited them out with a Lucian pick, and then they were confused at the last pick. Wait, what? Who's going top? It was Jisoo, and it's working so well, but let's see the replay in the Baron pick.
Indeed, so they do get the lockdown here on Venus right away. Venus not really able to repel onto any particular targets. Pallet tries to go for the salvage by getting a 3-man knockup. onto Ascension Gaming here, and Naul was actually trying to go for a flank, but the problem was, because Venus was down, that was just the numbers game being played out by Ascension that they could just have instantly refocused onto Naul right there, but was forced to back away, and overall, it's just really not working for Young Generation here. There's somewhat of a disconnect going on right now.
So right now, the turret is not lasting at all. The Baron buff is a magic tool. They are going to be using it. Inhibitor is exposed. Ascension looking to end this game, or at least crush Young Generation's hope. So far, Inhibitor down. This is going to be the first Inhibitor of the game at 32-minute mark. When we are seeing that Ascension, they're not giving up just yet. Changing their focus onto the mid lane.
I love the positioning overall coming in from Ascension. You're going for this full 5-man configuration to just go straight on to Young Generation here.
Quickness used by Pallet, but he's just too scared to go in. Locked on 4 members of Ascension under their own turret, but Nooney just completely deletes Ren. But we can see that Warlock is taking a lot of damage, and now Nooney and Null will not even last a lot. This is going to be members split up, but Ascension is still back in the game. Lloyd is there, going towards Venus, and now 4 members down for YG, while Null is just way over there in the Baron pit. This is Ascension staying firm as a 5-man group, not splitting up, ending the second game with their victory. This is going to be match point for Ascension Gaming against Young Generation for the slot of the playing stage for Worlds.
Man, oh man, what a game that we had right there. But then again, at the end of the day, it's just Ascension Gaming playing it smart as early as the drafting phase. And on paper, looking at things going into the game, their drafting actually pretty works out for them. That Young Generation, they don't really know what to do and how to deal with it necessarily. So I gotta say, bravo, very well played. And I wouldn't actually be surprised if this might eventually lead into a 3-0 sweep unless Young Generation try to figure out how to kind of balance things out as early as the drafting phase going up against Ascension.
So there you guys have it. This has been the second game of the groups, the knockout stages of the GPL Summer 2017 with Ascension Gaming securing their second victory. Now at match point, we will be moving on to Game 3 after a short break. I'm Vulcan, and with me was Arctic. We have been the casters for the GPL Summer 2017 knockout stages. See you after the break. Oro with a slow in. He does survive and stacking up the spellers really well. He does take a kill onto Nooney. And now Jisoo is left alone with no members of Ascension to defend him. But G4 responds there with the calling. Nooney will back off with Pallet. Trying to defend the grab flag combo. Ren is trying to escape. Jennifer Russian onto 4 members. This will be big for Ascension, but Young Generation will be backing off. And here is Warlock for the call-up. He does have Glacial Fissure ready. Not yet using it just yet. Saving for the right time. Cataclysm is there for the terrain. He's a bit too late. Pallet is there for the quickness. And Warlock is left alone. He gets taken down rather quickly without using his ultimate. That's bad news. Pallet and Venus are there. But look at Jisoo with the Vladimir for the cleanup.
Their own work going on.
Jennifer Russian on 2. What a bad call for Venus. G4 takes up the kill. Here comes the quickness and the Cataclysm for the lockdown. This will be Ascension winning the team fight so far, but will it be it? Aloy though getting the kill in. Lockdown of 4 members of Ascension under their own turret, but Nooney just completely deletes Ren. But we can see that Warlock is taking a lot of damage, and now Nooney and Null will not even last a lot. This is going to be members split up, but Ascension is still back in the game. Lloyd is there, going towards Venus, and now 4 members down. The second game with their victory. This is going to be match point for Ascension Gaming against Young Generation for the slot of the playing stage for Worlds.
Man, oh man, what a